Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Clark. Clark got headsets, man. When we get our headphones.
You got headset.
Yeah, you got headphones over there.
That's new. A lot changes while you're under house arrest. Huh?
I guess. Yeah, Teresa Beeman said, Keith, welcome back. And she talked about my stay in rehab.
Oh man!
Yeah, they got you
Good
out here.
morning, Apostle.
Bishop, chairman of the board, superintendent. You know, while you was gone from the church.
Well, I didn't miss a program.
Well, you know, because you watched from home. It ain't the same. It been in the house of the Lord, amen. And while you was
literally
gone,
had to tell TC. TC said, "Y'all need to get something after your show, Michelle." I said, "TC, what are you talking about?" Because it's just quiet in here. It's dead. I said, "But they're doing a show, TC. He's doing it from home,
right off the screen. Yeah,
it
was quiet.
You
in
not
here,
coming
man.
through this door was just bothering TC.
Yeah, man. It was just different. But having you back, brother, I tell you, the church is just, you know, we are excited to have Pastor back in the building, amen.
Somebody said Keith and Suge was locked up.
So how was the conversation? What did he say?
since he like music so much.
That Negro just cried and cried. How you be that big and you sit up there crying in jail? Now you was a gangster on the street, but you up in the spot. He just cried. They just talked about man on Suge. Man found out he was just a big punk.
Not
You know,
you,
he was just
Suge.
big.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
get me up here with Suge Knight.
So otherwise, welcome home from your stint. We're glad that you're back.
Yeah.
Stay out of prison.
I might have.
He do have that monitor on.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to,
the brother
I'm trying not
called
to
in.
look.
The brother called in and he said, "Yeah, man, Michelle had my coffee hot, and I was ready to go." I said, "Don't let Michelle get you in jail, okay?" We putting up T-shirts here because she got you. I had somebody, boy. This woman would always have us ready to go to Revolution at work. I'm going like, I got a mortgage, right? So we was talking about this money matter. When you got a mortgage, you consider. That's why during the 1964, 63, right, the Birmingham protests, and then the reason why they put kids on the streets was adults could lose their job,
right? I mean,
so the kids,
yeah,
and it was effective,
because again, they could go to jail because they're not gonna miss work,
right?
They didn't. They weren't. They didn't have a mortgage. They didn't have to worry about car payment. They're employers who could retaliate against them. Most of them lived at home.
So from that aspect.
Yeah. So economically, it made more sense for young people to be out on the front line because they had less financially to lose. And so we stay in the cut. We can still finance the move.
I got you.
Right. And I think that's always.
And when you're younger, you built for jail a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Then you go to sleep a lot faster.
And you hear something talking about, oh man, we used to have a good time. We singing. At this age, man, I mean, like Hannah Dugan, I know they would send her to like the female club fed, but if she got any time, she got it. But still, man, that idea of you losing
at that age,
yeah, man. I mean, it's
like even 2 years, man. It's
crazy.
Too long,
I have to go out to CRC, and that's the old House of Correction.
Yeah.
And just when you hear those doors closing, man,
no,
people telling you when to get up.
When I was at MSDF, just the whole experience of being in that spot 23-1, because your hour is actually broken up in 15-minute increments.
Right.
So after your last 15 minutes, I mean, it could be 2:00 in the afternoon, it could be 3:00, 4:00 in the afternoon. After your 15 is up, you in your room for the rest of the night.
See, that's why we got so many guys signing up for the fatherhood program.
Yeah,
because they get out, they're able to get out of there. And today, it's hot.
Yeah,
there ain't no air conditioning there.
Exactly,
it's
because
hot.
You're inside of a building, so it's a building inside of a building inside of a building. If you really, really, really want to know what it's like, for those that's out there listening in Radio Land, go in your bathroom, close the door, and stand there, and don't leave.
Yep, that's crazy.
What, in terms of prison?
Yeah.
Well, we visited prisons when Lena was the chair of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. she made it her business that we would visit every correctional facility in the state of Wisconsin, and we did. And the first time I went into, like, getting used to that door locking behind me.
hearing that,
Never, because Keisha used to work at Oak Hill Prison. She was the director of education at Oak Hill Prison. Creepy. I went up there and gave a commencement speech. But when I went in that cell, and I've talked about this, where they just had that little like slat for daylight to meet the legal requirement that they must have daylight. And then everything was self-contained. And so I was asking the people, I said, so this guy don't come out the cell? They was like, no. I said, well, where you take your bath at? That man pushed, they got a plastic enclosure over the TV. They pulled the mattress thing up against the wall, and the shower head was, he took his shower in his cell. Everything was I forgot which prison that was at. But, and when I went to Green Bay, baby, Waupun,
crazy. It's crazy.
You know, but the largest prison is Oshkosh.
I didn't realize. I don't think I realized.
It's like they have like over 500 staff. That prison generates so much money for that community in terms of just the ancillary. That's the whole thing about prisons,
right?
That, you know, people like, we don't want in my neighborhood. If you go up to Waupun Dodge,
it's in the center of
right
town.
there, right there. There's houses.
It's house right across the street.
And when you say hood, be clear, neighborhood.
Well,
not the bad neighborhood. It's in the middle of the neighborhood.
Right.
And Lena and I, literally, when we would pull up to these prisons, because there's no signage,
none,
you know, but you get up right on the area, and I'm like, we're in a residential area. Are you sure we're going the right way? And this before GPS was real big. We just trying to figure out our way. But literally, people was coming out their house to walk across the street to the prison. And I'm looking, and there go to daycare and the school right there, all of it. And I'm like, between these two people, you making $70,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year with overtime, $100,000 a year. Both the husband and the wife both working at the prison. Different shifts going in, and that was really one of the biggest employers in some of these towns.
Well, I remember it was, I don't know how, I was talking with a young lady. She was from Red Granite, and she talked about how Red Granite really competed hard to get a prison up there, you know, because especially when you have an economic downturn, you know, like the industry in your towns are wiping out, or farms are being bought up by corporations, it becomes prison. And then during tough economic times, that's when you can get a lot of people to go work at prisons. When the economics are good, then people, but it's crazy. That's why they said Dodge County is the most overrepresented county in the state, because they count all those prisons. Isn't Fox Lake? Fox Lake is in Dodge County?
Yeah, another thing that Lena fought against, because inmates are counted in the census population numbers for the place that they are incarcerated
at that point,
which means those communities are getting basically $1,000 a head in federal funding for every inmate that they got locked up in.
Or even
town.
how they draw the district lines.
Yes. And so it's like, so you don't want these people for no other reason, but you use their physical bodies for money for your district.
And then you cannot get out of Waupun and then move to Waupun. You have to go back to the community.
So all of the resources.
I mean, they.
So you're getting resources like you got 20,000 people driving on your streets, and you really only got 5,000 because they all in jail. They're not going nowhere. They're not using none of those resources.
Now, in fairness, that's also the case with UW-Madison. Right.
Because they get to count.
They get to count the students. So it helps Madison.
Somebody, when those communities get a prison, they literally have a parade because it's
money.
Money. And that's why Lena and I, when all that pushback and fighting about that juvenile facility coming here, and people was doing all that hooping and hollering, I'm like, are y'all crazy? Because these people make millions off of us. Why wouldn't you want those jobs in our own community? And as we would tell Tom Barrett, they our kids.
Right.
Those our people. But we're going to send them to somebody else. And then when they get abused and beat, then everybody want to be up in arms. Okay.
All right. Caller, welcome to the program. Exhale. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Keith.
What's happening?
And good morning, WNOV family.
Good morning.
Perry Duchesne. Perry Duchesne. In the 80s, you know, I used to go visit like my uncle's now, right? Nothing but open fields, corn, hoes, and all outdoors in the Mississippi. Now that I got older and I go fishing, man, that time everybody worked there. Everybody worked there. They got two nice hotels that everybody in the prison go to have their drinks, and everybody you run into, say, where you work at? Oh, I work at the prison. Where you work at? Oh, I work at the prison. I mean, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when they do the census, the prisoners live out there too.
Right, they're counted.
And that's crazy, man. Like, New Richmond, nothing but grass fields. Now, when you go to Minnesota, you see houses out there. I thought I was going the wrong way when I was going to Minnesota. St. Croix, Hudson. I noticed I earned 8 years in '96, and I went through the Challenge Incarcerated Boot Camp, and I went through Black River Falls, Jackson, and New Richmond County Jail, and then through the boot camp. And man, going up there like now, it's totally different. Like neighborhoods, huge neighborhoods, man-made lakes up through there. I'm like, wow. That's their money. That's the biggest job in these towns up through these parks.
Yep.
So yeah, y'all right. That's crazy.
Now, funny you talk about Prairie du Chien. That's where Campion used to be, which is a Catholic boys boarding school.
What was it called?
Up in Prairie du Chien.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Great bar near Red Granite.
Huh?
Somebody said there's a great bar near Red Granite. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, it's there's places we wouldn't even know about, you know, if it's prison. Appreciate you. You know, Jesse Jackson talked about that, you know, and I didn't understand the prison industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
And something that people are not paying attention. The Obama administration got rid of privately run facilities for federal prisoners. The first thing Sessions did when in the first Trump administration was rescinded that. And so now, and you know, you were just talking about Stephen Miller, you have these private entities that are building these detention centers, right? And then the folks they're holding on immigration charges are going to, so they're talking about like the worst one that we knew about was what was it, the swamp down in Florida that they had to close down. Alligator Alley. Yep. Yeah. I mean, because people felt like, okay, these are, and Michelle, you did a great job, because most of the people they're picking up are not dangerous criminals, but they have a quota. And see, and then it plays into this whole idea, because Democrats have to be very careful. Like, didn't they go after Kamala Harris because she was supposed to be the border czar? She really wasn't.
Right.
But then they talked about the number of people who came in under Biden.
Right.
And but then we forget that part of why Obama wasn't as popular in the Hispanic community was because of the number of deportations he did. They called him deporter in chief.
They did.
Right. You know, so. Yeah. But I think it plays into a certain emotional thing where people feeling like it's like when Meech will call in and make it sound like these folks from other places are taking jobs that Americans would have. That's not true. And then, as a matter of fact, because of this, it's having an impact on the laborers who would come in and work farms, right? There's a shortage. And so people don't realize, so your prices are going to go up because you don't have people to pick the crops. You know, and so, you know, you cutting off and look, there's something that they used to do during Roman times called bread and circus. And bread and circus was basically Circus Maximus was the big Coliseum. That's where you had the gladiator fights, the lions, the whole thing. And what poor people would come, rich people would throw them bread, right? And then the circus was the entertainment. Right. Someone was describing, they said, now Trump does bread and circus without the bread. So when he does that UFC fight, all these things where it's all this pageantry, where it's a diversion from people's actual suffering, and people in this country are suffering. That's why you're seeing more and more. The question will happen, and let's get this Graham Platner, this whole so-called movement of democratic socialism. Socialism has always been a response to capitalism unbridled, right? If you go back to the 20s when they were going through the Depression, one of the reasons why we got the New Deal was because communism was picking up steam in terms of people wanting to join, because they could see the inequity, is that the right word, that was happening in terms of the economic system. And so people said we want it fair. And I did a whole thing here on Milwaukee, because Milwaukee from 21 to 60 had socialist mayors.
I mean, because again, so many things that we have been able to accomplish as a country, it has been done with elements of socialism.
Yes.
Again, public education, public roads, Social Security,
parks,
all of that. But I did want to take a second, because a lot of people may not be familiar with that phrase that you use, because you never hear it.
What's that?
So, nod to you and the intellect on bread and circuses. But it actually dates back to a poet who said, give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. And that was the part I wanted to, because I was trying to remember the exact quote. I wanted to bring in, entertain them, superficial appeasement. And that's what they, they give these people. And so that whole concept, but that was the important part of that. And they will never revolt. I've given you somebody to hate. I've given you somebody to target. I've given you somebody to be mad at. That's the entertainment. And you will miss,
what I'm doing to you.
Exactly. My hand is in your pocket, robbing you.
When he stood up and talked about how poor white Southerners, that, just sit up and remind them you're not a nigga, and they'll kind of run with that, though they're still hungry, still dealing with poverty. My dad is from a little town in Kentucky called Monticello. And I had never seen poor white people. Now, when you say poor white people, I'm talking poor white people. It's like they look like black people living in Mississippi. And that's the struggle in this country, though race is a part of it, is really race and class. And so the people that Trump will appeal to, the so-called white males are feeling vulnerable in this economy, because the economy is moving in such a way where it's more beneficial to women in terms of being able to work, the type of work you do. And for men who want to really get out and do this whole laboring kind of thing, technology is making people less and less needed. And so who does it impact on? Primarily men. If you look at, somebody just said that Trump just poo-pooed the black unemployment rate, which has gone up under him. I'll say it again. It's gone up under him. We're not even talking about it, right?
Substantially.
Right. And so we're all distracted over here with this. As Kathy Hughes said, be careful of the weapons of mass distraction. We're over here and this is happening. Wow. Graham Platner.
Yes, sir. The individual who has a deadline today to make a decision if he is going to
waiting on?
I think he really thought up until like the last round of legislators that have bailed on him that he could survive this. Graham Platner, the Democrat running against Susan Collins for the seat in Maine.
Yep.
And
a seat that the Dems had targeted the tape.
Yeah, because they believe that it could help them flip the Senate. And now that is all in jeopardy because of this cat's personal behavior. But the first person to scream on him was his wife. She said, under the guise of, I'm just going to go ahead and put this out here because it's going to come out. There were all these sexting, so text messages involving sexual references, innuendo, I want to do you up, messages back and forth. I'm just saying,
circa 1968. I ain't heard that term since I was in grade school. I'm gonna do her up.
I was just saying.
I didn't even know what do her meant. I mean, just say, we'll do her up. But
You know, New Jack City too, baby. I wanna sex you up. I'm just saying. Oh, did you that woke you up? Okay. But his wife put out the like after they got married, all of these text messages surfaced that he was texting women after he was married, sexting, you know, sexual innuendo, blah blah blah. So then, you know, everybody got their moral fiber in the Democratic Party. Donald Trump is scandalous. 19 women accuse him, blah blah blah. And so, but we can deal with sexting because ain't nobody just. Then we get a word of an affair. Now we got another woman that has come out and said, no, he raped me. He crossed multiple lines. He was told to stop. And so then people were hemming and hawing about, well, you know, what's at stake though? Because we could flip the Senate. We could possibly impeach Trump. And that was one of the things. I'm so glad that you are hitting this morning, because when you have to think about like how much, and this is what Republicans have been doing, I think a lot since they have welcomed Trump into their fold. How much am I willing to tolerate to get what I want?
All right. Now here's the two-edged sword with this. Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky.
Right.
People knew or believed that it was an inappropriate relationship. Feminists, though, because it was more important that they see the agenda that Clinton was doing, came out and supported him. I do not know if that was a Republican, if that would have been the case. Obviously, it wouldn't have been. And you used this term out, the selected outrage, right? And you know, Trump went after him.
Yeah, for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going, what?
He just wanted to be in the front. He just wanted to have something to say.
What I find amazing is the Republicans are going to use that, yet Donald Trump is the embodiment of that type of aberrant behavior towards women.
So I'm even interested to see how much of it the Republicans actually are willing to say. Like, I think there's enough to just kind of let it fester on its own, because Democrats are raising enough saying about it that the Republicans, because you don't want to be put in a position where somebody says, well, what about your boy? Since you're so upset, since you're so outraged about, you know, Platner's behavior, what about Trump's behavior? So I think they're going to tread a light line in relationship to it. But Democrats having to now reckon with how that point about principles, how principled they really are when we potentially could get back control of the Senate.
And then I think I say it all the time, the greatest sin is exposure. There are a whole lot of private behaviors that are going on, and here's the difference. And then here's the deal with the dude, you know, and I guess because they said, do you have anything else that could come out? He go, no. This little thing about rape. Then here's the other piece.
The Nazi tattoo.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And Bernie Sanders recruited this dude.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's and I guess, and look, anytime there's an allegation of rape, anytime there's an allegation of domestic violence, we need to take it seriously, you know, but I just, and not knowing the dynamics of what actually went on, you know, like Rhonda and I would, well, she was joking. I didn't find it funny. She said that if she won, it was a fight. And if I won, it was domestic violence.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So
because the woman said
relationships
we dated for years.
Right.
We were together for years.
Right.
But this one time, you know, or we in a whatever, and he come through and I say no. Because I was like, well, how did he get in your house if you didn't want him there?
Right.
But you opened the door. Now, again, don't nobody jump on me, because I know you still can tell people no right up until the moment.
Right.
You know, of penetration. No, I changed my mind. Get off me, leave me alone. I don't want to do it. You have the ability to say no the entire process, the entire step of the way you can change your mind.
But real talk says that, but in a interpersonal relationship,
because that's what muddies the water with
right. And then and again, not minimizing the allegation. I'm also saying there's probably some other behavior on her side that we're not hearing about. His is going to a different level, and because we're not there, what do they say? There's his side, her side, and then the truth, right?
Well, the thing is, it's going to be interesting to see if he pulls out of the race.
He need to.
Yeah, and but they're also now upset.
He must have a good pullout game, because remember one of the allegations was he wouldn't use a condom.
No, that he would take it off.
Well, so he must have had a great.
So that wasn't that was like, because I'm like, are you trying to impregnate somebody? Why are you removing this condom? That was madness to me. But he, then he's trying to like, okay, if I do come out, I want to pick my successor, and they like, bruh, you're done. You have no say whatsoever.
But I wonder, was that part of it? And then I think, are there people out there who still support him? And does he then have sway with them to say, I need to get behind Ride Out, I need to get behind? So I don't know. It's complicated.
I mean, but
and Rhonda asked,
his background to me, I don't even know how.
It's really eclectic. It's really interesting background.
He was a juvenile delinquent when he was in high school. He was at a boarding school, got put out. Well, then he had to go to another school. Then he says he took a gap year and went to Africa and somewhere else. And then he joins the military, was in for 8 years, comes out as a private security contractor. And then you go work in oystering or something else.
But his family's background.
Yeah, but I mean, and so you go from oystering to somebody plucking you off the field or the ocean, wherever you get the oysters from, and then say, hey, we want you to run for Congress. I'm like,
you're listening to Community Voice. And Rhonda asked me, did I see Andrew Gillum?
Oh my God.
Well,
don't. Oh my God.
Are
you going to talk about it?
I don't. Well, we guess we can.
I'm getting ready to leave. I'm going to listen to you.
Well, I don't.
Please talk about Andrew Gillum.
I think.
Bruh, how you get caught again in Alabama?
With meth.
Like, I'm like, Marion Barry, go sit down somewhere, dog. Like, what is you doing?
Set me up.
Marion was lying. They did set him up. They did set him up. But Gilliam's the promise. The man is brilliant. Man. And you out here just in these streets all reckless. When that came across yesterday, man, I was sick. Because what a waste.
You're listening to Community Voice. Michelle, thank you. Callers, I really appreciate your patience. I'm going to get you right after the break. We're going to be right back.
5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Hang on one thing. Get you. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
No, Keith, I don't know if y'all still talking about Graham Platner, because I've been on for 10 minutes. You can't hear what you and Michelle are talking about. Y'all still talking about him?
Yep.
What it seems like to me, and this could be true about him. I think most Democrats are trying to lean towards that. Now, my take on it is that people I shouldn't say people really don't care anymore. To me, it's like almost win at any cost now. And the reason I say that, the chief in charge right now is Donald Trump, with all those allegations that came out against him, and they made every excuse in the world for him. I haven't heard anybody mention Brett Kavanaugh. Have you?
No.
In this discussion. And what about Pete Hegseth? He even paid a lady off $50,000, right?
Right.
But I think that's where they say when that genie gets out the bottle, it's hard to put it back in.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's like, oh, okay, the morals and the values are all gone now. So if we don't start fighting dirty, because they fight dirty, Keith, they fight dirty. And if every time we keep taking the the moral high ground. How are we ever going to win when they fight dirty and we fight nice all the time? So if I kick you in your rocks, then I just turn around and let you kick me again. I keep letting you kick me. How are we ever gonna win if we don't fight back? And so I think that's where we're at right now. I don't think he's going to drop out the race, because he should have. If he was, he would have did it by now. Don't you think?
No, he's definitely gone. He knows he's gone. I think he's trying to use what little leverage he has, but I think he has to go. I mean, it's and I'm sorry. There's a double standard. You know, who was the guy, the congressman who lied about everything? The Spanish guy. Now the Republicans didn't put him out right away because they needed his vote, right? So they let him hang around just long enough where, you know, he could still, because they had such a slim majority. I don't know, you know, when you say that, it made me think, and I had to respond to a listener on this whole thing, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. The question is, should there be ethics in politics? I'll ask that question. Okay. Well, part of that is you being ethical means that you could lose a race. So what's more important, that person being ethical or a person doing what they need to do in order to win because there's a good that could be achieved by them winning?
But here's my whole thing, Keith. We are told from the time that we're coming up, be careful what you do. Be careful what you say. And now be careful what you text and what you put on social media, because that stuff's going to come back and haunt you, right?
Yep.
And if you know you have these things in your past, that's why I scratch my head about a lot of these politicians. You know you got this stuff. When we talk about skeletons in your closet, you know you got
Name
this
one
stuff
that doesn't have them.
Why would you run? Why would you run?
Well, I think you run because their hope is that it won't come out. But look, man, someone said if perfection was a prerequisite, no one would serve. So, yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, it's in the clergy. And I tell people I love this sign at this Methodist church on Center Street where you drive by, and I think it's still up. They might have changed it on their marquee that says
that church,
that every saint has a past, every sinner has a future.
Keith, why do you think I won't run for office?
Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, and if people do, and with research opposition now, I mean, you know, that opposition research where people can go in, you know, it's all out there. It's a question of, is it something that you can use? You know, because they're going back on some folks. Who was the dude from Alabama? And he was a U.S. Senator, Moore, the Supreme Court Judge Moore down there, and they had allegations of him liking 14-year-old girls. And they went back, 20 years, 30 years on that? So, I mean, it's a different time. You know, John Kennedy was a philanderer. I mean, and thank you, Michelle. And so it's a tough one, man. I mean, you wouldn't be able to pastor a church if we just went on one's past, right? And then I think those things have to be, because when you talk about allegations of rape or allegations of domestic violence, I think how we handle that is important, because then we send a message out that maybe some behavior is just not acceptable. And when we start talking about, you know, intimate partner violence, when we begin to talk about sexual assault, to me, that's a bridge too far.
Now this guy that's running in Texas, don't he have some allegations behind him or something?
And wait a minute, they just ran a tape of Paxton in Europe with his mistress. I just saw that yesterday, day before. Yeah, they knew that Paxton was going to really. Texas wouldn't have been in play. You know, Texas has not elected a Democratic senator since Lloyd Benson. So the fact they got close with Beto O'Rourke, but this guy, Tallarico, And then you put up against Paxton, they said it should have never been Paxton. He brings all kind of baggage. So you're going to have his baggage plus the baggage that Trump brings, right? Because now all of a sudden now Hispanics have had a change of heart when it comes to Donald Trump. So Texas wasn't even supposed to be in play. And Texas is in play now. And the fact that this picture just came out. Now, I'll say this. Some people feel so strongly about their political position that they will look the other way when it comes to the wrongdoing of the candidate that they support.
And at least the sponsor, because now that Access Hollywood tape, that should have shut him down right off the bat, right?
Yeah, but then you know what happened?
Access Hollywood tape.
But then what happened right after Access Hollywood? Comey came out and then made a statement that they had been investigating Hillary Clinton in July. So that muted that whole Access Hollywood tape, which was running. That changed the whole game. So, it was already tough.
Files or whatever.
Huh?
What was it with her about Benghazi? What was it, Benghazi?
No, it wasn't Benghazi. They were going into this whole Russian collusion piece and whether or not her campaign had originally authorized the dossier. And so they were going in looking at that. And then Comey comes out and says that there was an investigation and they found no wrongdoing. He tipped it because people going, well, why were they investigating her? And then you remember her server. So there was all these things.
That's what it was, the server, right?
And so, yeah, I mean, how, they call it October surprise. We thought the October surprise was going to be that tape, the Hollywood Access tape. But then Comey came out and and then it just played into people already saying that, look, I'm never going to vote for a woman. Here's another reason why, people are always saying that, Hillary Clinton, there was something really, kind of suspicious about her, which wasn't the case. But, for some people, perception becomes reality, right? So once I get a perception of a person and once I get locked in on that, they call that blind spotting. I'm not moving from that spot. Donald Trump could find the cure for cancer, but the people that don't like him will still not like him. So
he's not to be like. I looked up the other day, and you know how you can Google stuff, and you got to be careful what you Google sometimes. But I Googled, I said, who is the worst president in American history? Guess who popped up?
Yeah, Donald Trump. I did the list. I did the list. He is considered the worst because we did the 10 worst and the 10 best, and Obama's number 6. In terms of the 10 best. So, yeah, I mean, it's no question. And he just keeps adding to that legacy, where people will go and they'll look and think, wow. And I don't know if any of those folks who supported him have buyer remorse. You hear little inklings of it.
Caller. We know we got one caller that calls in. He ain't got buyer's remorse at all yet. I'm going to tell you something, Keith, and I'm going to hang up. The night the night that we voted, right? Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit nervous. I said, well, I'm going to go to bed and I'll wake up and find the results, right? Guess who texted me at 3 o'clock in the morning? I knew right then and there. I'm like, damn. Excuse my French. Damn. That's how happy he was that this white man had beat this sister. So, I don't know how many of them gonna have buyer's remorse we're gonna see, according to these talking heads, and you can't believe everything they say. They still saying that they raising more money than Democrats and all this kind of stuff.
Because they're gonna need it.
I wonder sometimes, Keith, has America had enough yet? We'll see, right?
No. I tell people the greatest book is yet to be written. Human depravity, the most depraved that human beings could be, is yet to be reached. And so, no, I'm not surprised. We keep looking for a bottom. That bottom, is no, we haven't even got to bottom yet. And in America, we can withstand it a little bit different than you might have in other countries when it comes to material impact, right? Because we are the most prosperous nation on the planet. So in some ways, and we can do bread and circus on a different kind of level where people going in. But I just saw this where they're still subsidizing farmers because the tariffs have cost farmers so much money. That's why when he was here, he being Trump was in Wisconsin, it was kind of lukewarm in terms of people weren't all that. Now, his diehard folks are just diehard folks, but you had people sitting out there in that audience who have been impacted by his economic policies. And look, man, it's like that Michael Jackson song, they don't care about you. You need to understand this. And if all you have, the only thing that's linking you to this dude is your whiteness, and materially you're suffering, there's a problem. And you're saying that whole thing about how young white males are against this war because they realize that if there ever was a draft and called up, they're the ones who are going, so. All right, man.
I never understand it, Keith. It just boggles my mind that racism, sexism, and homophobia could be that draw that you'll cut your, what if they bite your nose off to spite your
And
face.
let me say, I'm glad you brought up the homophobia piece because, and I got to get Maggie Haberman's book, and I think the other guy is Swan Fox, but she tells a story in the book about how Trump knew that all I had to do was start talking about men in sports, women's sports, and that would distract people. Again, it doesn't happen, y'all. And what I mean statistically, it does not happen. But how does that then become the most important issue for folks? It plays into your emotions. They pimp your emotions, right? All right, man, let me do this. Wake up, man.
Peace, man.
You did have a late night, huh? Man. Carla, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First thing, let me turn the radio on. Okay, here we go. First thing I want to say, to those who say they will never vote for a woman, they'll never vote for a woman because they can't tease a woman. Okay, that's why they beat on a women. And majority of these men that beat on a women, they're funny bunnies. They're gay. Okay? Number 3, let's look at it. You know why a lot of people like Trump? Because all that stuff he talks about and do is in their households, like sleeping with their own kids, parking the car crooked because you're so high on coke and dope and fentanyl and angel dust and meth. Okay? All right? So let's just look at it. Yeah, they worried about the transgenders, but you're worried about the transgenders because you're gay. Okay?
Well, no, I'm not going to say, no, it's not because people are gay. I think they're fearful that they might be. It plays into a whole lot of emotions. Because there's a whole lot of straight people that have problems with trans and gay people.
In mind, if you're fearful of being gay, that's mental. And people that's gay ain't trying to get in the bed with nobody with bad hygiene. Trust me, they wives know every time they wash their drawers.
Okay.
It ain't hitting, okay?
Okay. All right.
Okay? Let's keep it 100. Let's look at the point that they never use logic. They don't use logic because they're dumb, okay? They don't do no critical thinking. They don't do critical thinking. Only thing they do is take one little thing. It's just like a person saying, oh, this is the best liquor. This is the best liquor. And all they did was took some Tito's and put it in an Amsterdam bottle, okay? And you're like, whoa, okay. We have to look at the fact a lot of these people are stupid and they like Trump because everything he do is already in their household, like touching on little kids.
Right.
You know the people that's doing that, they like it. A lot of them are already known for sleeping with their daddy and their daughters as whores and runaways and junkies because grandpa said, come sit on my lap. That's why they all messed up in the head and you find them up at the land lizards at the truck stop. That's why they at home and their husband beating on them because they don't got no walls down because they got more miles in a Lucas Oil than what is them freight liner trucks. They high mileage.
All right, I got to go.
They like that.
All right.
Have a good one.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Oh, my God.
Listen, everybody.
Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back. And we're joined in studio by Mr. Carl Brown. Good to see you again, man.
Good to see you too, Keith.
Yeah,
How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm getting better.
Good.
I'm
Glad to
getting
hear
better.
it.
I was actually doing the programs from home.
Okay.
And people thought I was in rehab, and
Yeah.
man, I caught a case, but I'm all good. So,
you looking good, man.
Well, thank you, man.
Looking good.
Appreciate you. I wish I felt as good as I look. Is that how you say it? Felt as good as you look. Anyway,
There you go.
but President CEO, the Fresh Coast Jazz Festival. What year is this?
This is the 7th year.
7th year.
Yes. So we had our first event in 2019, and then because of COVID, we took a break, and so now we're on to year 7.
Man, let's do this because we talk about the lineup.
Yeah.
Talk about the work that is generated from the funds that you raise from this entity.
We call it a party with a purpose, and it started really as a way to give back to the community. And so as of this year, we will have given out, I believe, 14 college scholarships, grants to 13 schools to support their music program, sent over 100 kids to music camps, provided 500 plus backpacks full of school supplies, provided instruments to some kids who want to play but can't afford to get the instruments. We have a program where we take young people who would not otherwise get an opportunity to be exposed to careers in the legal profession and advertising industry, and we're adding more to that, where we take kids into these businesses and they get a chance to see these careers. It's a really cool thing. And then every year we do a benefit concert at Children's Wisconsin, and we give out each year probably about 100 gifts of comfort to those kids and families receiving treatment. So it really is about the philanthropic work as much as it is about the music.
Let's talk about the music, man.
Yeah.
What is it with jazz and you?
You know what? I tell you, I remember the day I was a sophomore in high school. My brother and I both had bedrooms in my parents' basement, and my brother was a DJ, and so he always had the new music, right? And I heard something, and I never heard anything like it before. And I went into his room, I'm like, what is this? It was David Sanborn's Voyeur album, and it was the song Wake Me When It's Over, right, that he was playing. And from that moment on, I've been in love with contemporary jazz, right? And so that was really my introduction to it. But both my brother and my dad kind of introduced me to the music, right? And ever since I was, like I said, in high school, that's been my go-to.
Right, and people don't realize David Sanborn played with the Saturday Night Live band.
Yeah. He sure did. Yeah, and on David Letterman's show some too.
Yeah. So be able to, for me, I heard it, but it wasn't. Wow, man, I was like a senior in college. And my college roommate, late Brett Parler, his dad ran a jazz club in DC.
Okay.
So he introduced me to people that I'd never heard of George Duke.
Yeah. Man.
Earl Klug.
Yeah.
There were people out there.
Now you talking my language.
Yeah, man. That it was just like, oh man, if you have Earl Klug, I don't know if he's still touring.
He's not, unfortunately. Wow. We've tried to get Earl, but he is no longer touring, which is unfortunate,
There was another, my wife's family knew his family, violinist Noah Pointer.
Yes.
Who died from heart disease. Yeah, I mean, just he did a song. It's one of my favorite songs, When I Feel Your Soul. Man, I love that song.
Yeah.
But so when Brett introduced me kind of to jazz, because I was still, I'm doing Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
But then that's why I miss hip hop.
Yeah.
Because I was so into the jazz and the smooth jazz that I just miss hip hop.
I'm kind of like you. I got a little bit of the hip hop, but I was into it that way, the contemporary jazz and smooth jazz that way too. So I know exactly what you mean.
You talked about putting instruments in the hands of young people.
Yeah.
And I see that there's so many accomplished musicians who, my wife kind of turned me on to him. John Baptiste.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, his ability, not just to play, but he gets into, they said jazz is like notes within the notes.
Yeah, it is.
But he goes to a level. So to be able, we're still producing musicians, not so much where it's being done by AI and that kind of thing. So I think it's important that we put instruments in the hands of
it really people. Is for so many reasons. I think, jazz musicians are really some of the most learned musicians out there, right? Most of the ones that I know and talk to have really been classically trained, right? Because to play jazz, there's a real strong improvisational line that goes through jazz, right? And you can't do that if you are not a really solid player, right? And so it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. But the other thing I love about us helping do what we do for young people is that I think our young people get too much of a bad rap sometimes. I get it. There's some out there that don't do the right things.
Always been.
But I also believe too that if we as adults can help them channel their energies into things that they like or that they will be interested in, then that's going to keep some of them off the street. That's going to keep some of them from making some choices that may not be the best choices for them. And that's going to give them some hope in a future. And that's kind of our way of putting our arms around them and saying, hey, we love y'all. Y'all have value to us, and we want to see y'all be the best that y'all can be.
And I think that one of our training grounds for a lot of musicians was church.
Yes, indeed.
And we have less and less young people going to church, but that's where a lot of people, and everybody I interview, where do you start? On the drums. Right. Yeah. But be able to go in. So being able to be exposed to that, and even when you look at MCs, rappers, they're listening to all kind of music.
Oh yeah.
They can sample from, and you go like, wow. So in some ways, people were really down on hip hop, but I think hip hop has really helped when it comes to jazz. What's the piece we play, Miles Davis?
Well, yeah, Miles Davis.
And let me say this about Miles, where there's some people, they didn't want to go electronic.
Yeah.
Miles goes, is that where we're going?
Yeah. Well, and hip hop, there's a strong tie to hip hop and contemporary jazz. Like Jeff Lorber and Bob James are two of the most sampled artists in hip hop. Their records have been sampled thousands of times, and so like there's always been that strong tie between hip hop. And then now you look at the evolution of jazz and you see people like Robert Glasper, who hip hop runs through everything that Robert Glasper does, right?
Dude.
So it really is that tie has been there for a long, long time.
If I had the bank, he does a thing out in California. Yeah, his little music thing. If I had the money, because that's expensive, you go in Marion County. But man, Robert Glasper is.
Well, and we got this cat coming this year to the festival who he really is. His hip hop soul and roots go pretty deep. His name is Jared Lawson.
Okay.
And Jared is Michelle Obama listed him as one of her favorite artists, right?
Okay.
Blue-eyed dude, can blow like you would not believe. And when you listen to his music, it's jazzy, yes. But it's also, there's hip hop influence, there's soul influences, R&B influences, and he is going to be somebody I think everybody's going to be real surprised when they get to check him out.
Well, that's a great segue. Let's talk about the lineup.
Yeah, well, we're excited about the lineup this year. Like one of the things we always try to do is we like to bring in, at least a couple of artists that everybody knows, right? But then to introduce some artists that are doing really well on the contemporary jazz charts and whatnot, but maybe haven't had a chance to get here to Milwaukee yet, right? So opening up on Friday night, we have Eric Essex. Eric has a song that's just hitting the contemporary jazz radio right now and is climbing up the charts. Eric's a guitar player from Birmingham, Alabama. And his brother is solid. He's got like 20, 30 albums to his credit, right? Been doing this for decades. Then after Eric, we have Candace Springs. And Candace was discovered by Prince, okay? And Candace is a beautiful voice. She's a pianist, her all-girl band. We had them here in 2021. They tore the house down, and so we're bringing her back. And then on Friday night also, we have Spiral Gyra headlining, which like everybody knows Spiral Gyra, they really are, like we were talking earlier, they really are they kind of helped create this genre, and they've been putting it down for 50 years and still doing it. And one of the things that they said to me was like, none of our shows are ever the same because we got so much music. We play the hits. We'll do a medley of the hits, but everybody's going to get a different show no matter when you come to one of our shows. So that's Friday night. Then on Saturday, we got Marquel Jordan. Marquel is an amazing young brother, saxophonist and singer. He's out of Chicago. He played for like 10 or 12 years in Brian Culbertson's band with Rick Braun before he broke off and did his own thing, and he's doing great. Jared Lawson, the brother I was just talking to you about, who's fantastic. And then Jonathan Butler, one of my all-time favorites. Jonathan is an amazing person, but also an amazing musician. He tours so much, and none of his shows are ever the same either. And there's so much energy in his shows. His shows are cool. And he was the very first Black artist to be played on apartheid era South African radio.
And then
Very first.
just one of the ubiquitous songs, "Fall in Love with Jesus."
Falling in Love with Jesus, exactly right. He was
yeah.
telling me about how that song came to be, and it's an amazing story. But I'm hoping he will play that. I'm pretty sure
I
he will.
think he will.
Yeah.
We worked. He was down in Harbor Fest.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, that was the one everybody seemed to be waiting on.
Yeah.
And he does with the guitar.
Yeah.
And then the whole, being South African.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he brings a lot to, and it says something about. I say I have this little mantra. I love all African people all over the world. That's kind of like, all African people are one. But it's amazing when you hear African, I'm talking about indigenous African people, him being from South Africa, and the influence that American Africans have had on music.
Yeah.
And then the impact that indigenous African folks have had on our music.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's a river that runs through a lot of it, man. And a lot of, I've talked to a lot of artists who go back to Africa to kind of get reinvigorated and rediscovered too. So yeah, that's very common with artists. But in addition now to the artists that we have coming, we got some really cool other events going. So on Thursday, August 20th, we open up the festival with an event we call The Pairing, and we pair wines with the music of a famous jazz artist. And this year we're pairing wines with the music of George Benson. So I just had the fortune the other day of going through and tasting all the wines and selecting all the songs that we're going to pair with the different wines. And my life is hard, I know, but that's going to be,
somebody got to do it.
Exactly right. That's going to be off the chain. Like when you come in, you get a glass of bubbly, then you get to your table, there's charcuterie at the table. And you get to
what charcuterie
is. It'll be a platter of cheese and crackers and sausage and fruit and that kind of stuff. Snack food, right? Cleanse your palate, right? While you're trying the different wines. And you get to taste 4 different wines in addition to your glass of champagne or bubbly. And then you'll get a commemorative Fresh Coast Jazz Festival wine glass to take home with you, right? That's Thursday. And we still have a few tickets for that. Then we have the Fresh Coast Cruise on Saturday, which is a luncheon cruise that leaves the Edelweiss dock at 1:00, comes back at 3. But it's a beautiful cruise out on Lake Michigan and the Milwaukee River. And we have playing, this young brother is a prodigy. He is 17 years old. His name is Will Carter. He's from the Chicago area. And Will is going to be one of these people that's going to be headlining these major festivals any time now. But Will's going to be playing on the cruise. He is amazing.
Wow, that's a pretty full weekend.
It is a full weekend, and we worked with a couple of our partners this year because we get it. Like, times have been tough for people this year, right? Gas being what it is and groceries being what they are. So we really, like we said, we always wanted this to be about the community. We really wanted to be able to do some things to make it easier for people to come out and relax and have a good time at this time when they need it. So we got a couple of ticket discount opportunities for people this year as well. So if you're an AARP member, you can get $40 off of select tickets, right? And then
I am.
Yep. So you can get $40 off select tickets. And then if you're a Network Health member, you can get $15 off the regular price of select tickets with the code Network. So doing a few things to try to help make it easier for folks to come this year as well.
And we didn't talk about what venue this year?
At the Pabst Theater is our venue for the concerts. The pairing will be at the Fitzgerald, right? That's an old mansion that the Pabst Theater group renovated into an event space. And that's downtown. Close to the Northwestern Mutual campus.
Okay.
And then the Edelweiss Port, which is downtown right off of Highland.
Wow. This is gonna be good, man.
It's a good time. We're so happy to be able to do it. We have a good time. My wife and I laughed as we work up until the time we get there, and then it's go. And my wife is really the one who handles all the logistical stuff. But then after the festival, we have to go sleep for about a week or two. So,
yeah. And I'm hoping, just throwing this back out here. At one point, we used to have a jazz program.
Yeah.
And let me shout her out. Both her and Sandra Silk did it too. But the young lady we had, she didn't know anything about jazz.
Okay. Huh.
And Keon gave her like this whole big thing of jazz.
Uh-huh.
And her show was, first of all, she had the great voice for it.
Yeah.
Right. And then her music was just, she went everything from, the whole so-called traditional jazz.
Yeah.
She could do Coltrane, and then she would do Spiral Gyra. I mean, and the mix was such. And so on like Thursday nights, I made it my business, especially being in the car, because my stereo is so much better in my car. But I think that I'm hoping that we continue, and it's good that we have opportunities like this with Fresh Coast Jazz to make sure that genre stays alive.
It's really important. I mean, and I think, there's a lot of people that love this music, and I think jazz is such a big, big box, right? You got, like you said, straight ahead jazz, you got acid jazz, you got, the people calling jazz soul now, and contemporary jazz or smooth jazz, and then you got bop and swing and all those other things. Jazz is a huge box, and I think I always try to tell people that, you know what, find your lane in it and find what you like, and that's cool. Like what you like, but experience it all, because it is pretty amazing music.
I was watching something, and it was an older movie. I don't know if you watched Sanford and Son.
Oh yeah,
I remember when they did the whole thing. I think it was Scatman Crothers. It was, it was with Damon Wilson and then Red Fox. And the song that they did, I didn't realize that this was just like one of these old jazz standards. And the way they did it. So man, I'm always listening. And I love songwriters, I get what. So we were talking about Duke Ellington when we were doing Black Music Month, but we talked about Billy Strayhorn.
Oh yeah,
who wrote the music, right?
Yeah.
So all these great writers out there, and so I could have did a little bit more with jazz. I did some of the local folks that we had here this year, but yeah, I think it's one of those things where it is an American. It's like bluegrass. It's gospel. It's
an American art form. It really is. And you asked me about Sanford and Son as if you didn't see all this gray hair on my head and chin, man. Shoot. I was watching Sanford and Son probably before you, man.
I don't know, man. I was I would say this had nothing to do with what we talk about, but my program is about everything and nothing. But man, they used the N-word.
Oh yeah,
70s was a different time, man.
It was.
I mean, you just go like, you could never say that now. But it was just like that. But he did because he did vaudeville. So a lot of those guys, you would see Leroy and Skillet. Who was my other guy? LaWanda Page. These folks were all like Chitlin Circus, vaudeville. Right. And he did a great job. He brought in Slappy White, people that, you wouldn't know anything about, but he was very loyal to those folks. And I'm glad it gave us part of our history.
Yeah, no doubt.
In terms of with Skillet and Leroy, but who was his boy though? Bubba. Bubba Bexley.
Okay.
But these guys were all like, and to be able to do that, to see some of the, like something we don't see a lot of is like tap.
Yeah, very true.
And how tap was so tied into jazz.
Yeah.
No and so, I think a little while back, I just saw Savion Glover, who was after Gregory Hines, Savion Glover, the dancer, but to be able to do it. So I appreciate. Now, are you all in the past have done some of the musicians have gone into but the kids won't be in school. So.
Well, we do try to make connections though with musicians and with students as well. So this year, every year we do a Q&A session where one of the major artists will, the morning of their performance at the host hotel, which this year is the Hyatt Place downtown, we do a Q&A, and that's free for music to students and music teachers. We always invite a bunch of music students and music teachers to that, right? So they get a chance to spend an hour with the artist. And this year, Spiral Gyra made it available for a group of students to come to their sound check, which is really cool. That's a real neat thing for students to see kind of how it all goes down. And then, those students are able to make it. We're going to give them tickets to come to the show that night so they can see how it goes full circle.
Again, that is the Fresh Coast Jazz Festival that will be held from Thursday, August 20th to Saturday, August 22nd. What's it? I'm reading this. The nightcap.
So I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the nightcap. So every, when the shows are over at the Paps, we can't just go to bed. This is my weekend to stay up late and be, act like I'm grown and everything, right? So at the host hotel after the Pabst. Each night on Friday and Saturday, we have a band, and there'll be food trucks outside. You can get drinks inside, and that band will play from 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. And it's a really cool vibe because a lot of the art, that's one thing I love about contemporary jazz artists is that they're not like rock and roll or super artists like that who like don't want to deal with the fans. A lot of the artists will come and hang out at this thing with everybody, have a drink with you, talk to you, things like that. And it's a real fun time. So that's free at the Hyatt Place Hotel downtown, just west of the Five Star Forum, from 11 until 1 on Friday night and Saturday night.
The Fresh Coast Jazz Festival, again, it starts on Thursday, August 20th, and runs through Saturday, August 22nd. If people want tickets, they can go to freshcoastjazz.com or papstheatergroup.com. And don't forget those discounts. Take advantage of that. All right. Mr. Carl Brown, Fresh Coast Jazz Festival, man. Always good seeing you.
Man, good seeing y'all too, and I appreciate y'all having me on today.
I'm going to try to sneak down and see Spyro Jones.
There you go.
Yeah. Appreciate you. Hey, you're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. That rendition.
Oh, that was Dan Siegel.
Okay. See, that's the problem when you're in rehab at the crib. I can't hear it. I mean, I can turn the radio on, but then I got to get somebody over to turn it so we don't get the feedback. But, man, I miss hearing my opening, opening theme. I was just, there, August 20th will be my 9th year anniversary here. Yeah, so August 20th. Talk about past the time. Now I did. That's I did the. Oh man, lazy.
Right.
Don't make me work. Don't make me work.
I didn't see that. I wasn't trying to be funny, but I was like, oh, somebody left their cane.
Yeah, me.
Eddie. Eddie left his cane.
You know what I can do, man? This is so cool. Like pop it, bam.
Should we go down one more time too?
No, that's it.
Oh man, that thing is like
titanium.
Voltron.
But I'm thinking about getting me like a elder cane. Like an African.
Oh, okay,
chief,
one of those staff, kind of like.
Yeah.
So you look like
yeah, man. So let it be written. Right. So let it be.
I was just asking. Spending so much time at home, was it kind of like COVID? Did it impact your marriage?
No. This is crazy. We came in for COVID.
Yeah.
Remember during COVID, we came in. I mean,
we didn't have this technology then either.
Yeah. We that was I think that's how I got a lot of listeners, because where could they go? So they at the crib.
You're talking about a captive audience.
Right. And that's what my buddy told me. He was like, the only reason they listened because they had nothing else to do. Like, wow, no quality here, huh? But yeah, we came in for COVID.
So how did you pass the time?
It looked like it just blew by, man. I mean, it's.
I was really shocked when you texted me and said, "Hey, I'm coming in today." I called Jermaine right away, like, "Hey, man, Keith coming in."
Yeah. Well, I thank God for rehab because I'm stronger, and so being able to get, because it was the stairs, stairs, and man, still at the crib. But in some ways, it's good because I'm getting that exercise and using those stairs. But man, for a minute there, it was like.
I mean, are you 100% now?
No. Matter of fact, I have to go in for the epidermal next Tuesday morning.
Who?
So that's that.
That's shot.
That needle that they.
Yeah, the same thing they give women when they.
Yeah.
That's
giving birth.
Yeah.
Epidural or something like that. It's called.
Yeah. Steroids and something else. So.
And so, where are they giving you this in your spine, right?
I hope not. Well, whatever it is, it's a surgical procedure. I think it's the same one that the Brewers manager had.
Yeah, because you can't move, because if you move,
they sedate you.
Okay, yeah, because if you move, then you automatically paralyzed.
So based on the timing, I might just do the program from home.
Keith gonna be laying in the bed like,
yeah.
Welcome to community. Caller.
I'm so high. I'm so high.
Hell, hang up on them. Next
Oh
caller.
man, but no, I think it was. It's like,
But you must have a high threshold for pain
Jesus, yeah.
because you never looked like you were hurting when you were doing the show from home. It
didn't hurt to sit.
Looked like you were playing hooky is what it looked like. No, I'm just.
Only have to get half dressed. Oh man, that's
Hey, if the camera would have dropped,
Right.
I saw his feet.
I'm glad you stand up.
yeah. All right, yeah, turn the camera off. No, but the other thing is, and this is a good time now because at least I'm not dealing with all the traffic when school is in. Because that's always. But no, I'm getting stronger. It's an incremental piece, and the physical therapy really helps. Doing the exercises help.
And all of this came from that initial. Was it a fall or what?
No, it was sciatica.
Okay.
So you just woke up one morning and it was
The pain had always been there.
So what it was?
It just
on
got
and
so
off?
bad, right?
Oh.
And then
It caused you to fall.
no, your body is. The therapist explained this to me. Your body, once it's had a pain episode,
Right.
puts it in your memory.
Yeah. So you automatically.
So you automatically,
offset.
and so
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid pain, and I misstepped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You made it worse.
I don't think it helped. And then I fell again, going into my sister's because I had 2 bags in my hand, ended up falling. And then the day I came here to the station, and thank the brother Thomas for helping me get up. But it was just like I was trying to avoid stepping because I thought it was going to cause pain, and that throws your balance off. So I'm regaining my balance. There's an exercise I do now to help me with my balance. But yeah, man, it is not as painful as it was, but the pain is still there. So yeah, so I got.
Well, you're a real trooper, man. I mean, you toughed it out. You showed up for Juneteenth.
No stairs.
With that walker. I mean, and then how were you able to get in without a whole lot of walking?
Well,
I
we
saw
were
you from
fortunate.
the direction you came
Yeah,
from.
we were fortunate because we just squoze into a little parking spot there on Christine Lane.
Oh, okay.
And then so it was only like that block walk from I don't know what that was, that 3rd Street, 4th Street, up to and then walked into Rise and Grind.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Hey,
I should have did the scooter though.
I tried it.
Well,
Y'all had more fun.
Y'all
Y'all had more fun with the scooter than I did, man.
I was doing willies.
And I'm going, hey, there's a cripple in here. And they out there doing wheelies.
And a couple other guys on scooters
Hey, D-Mo.
rolled up.
Read
That
this
cat
right here.
challenged to race me, man.
Yeah,
We was
yeah.
gonna go racing Juneteenth because he said I had the Cadillac of all scooters.
Mm.
So I laid to the side.
So I appreciate you for that, Clark.
Oh, no problem.
And then, let me thank Rhonda and Kennedy because they spent the whole day down there with us.
Yeah.
Turned to be real interesting. Now, at the end of it, though, Michelle and Will.
Now, I wish I would have saw
Man,
that one.
we had
Yeah,
technical
that was-
about, man. That was.
I wish I'd have
Very
saw that.
interesting.
That was, man, they was on fire, boy.
I wish I'd have saw
I
that
said, I told y'all we need to have one show a week
Yeah.
where it's the 3 of us.
Yeah.
And y'all can have some maybe after the campaign we can look at that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we take that
Yeah.
11 o'clock
That's
hour
right.
one
Yeah.
day and just do that.
Yeah, that'll be dope, man, because I think, man, that the people wanting to see both sides at the table at the same
Yeah.
time.
But I think the other thing is that these are 2 very, very, very bright people.
Yeah.
People may or may not know that Will was a history major. So when Will can be able to have those conversations at this level. Of course, then it got down to this level. But if we can have it at this level, in terms of being able to.
But for the people that are neutral, because I've heard people say this, man, that whether it's the left wing or the right wing, that we're still part of the same bird.
Yeah, and I think that most people will find themselves kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Like the extreme left, the extreme right. Most people are kind of here,
Yeah.
and we can either lean here or lean there,
Right.
and it really depends. And we were just talking about issues that impact you. And I'm gonna tell you, man, that's why they call it political science. There is a science to this that people don't even realize. Like the polling becomes important. Like why is polling important? Polling becomes important because then you can shape and fashion your message based on how people respond to it. They have focus groups, right? Just like you selling cornflakes. It's the same thing with politicians. I don't know if anybody watched Veep, but if you ever watch Veep, Veep is like, it's one of those great political kind of shows, and they had 5 great seasons. I give you, and so I think about all these political movies. I just watched Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy and Cheryl Lee Ralph. Hi, I'm Inga. When I interviewed her, I was trying not to say, hi, I'm Inga. That's a good one. DJ always talks about, is it Head of State with Chris Rock?
Yeah, Head of State.
Yeah, that was a good one, too.
Bernie Mac.
And Bernie Mac.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
You know, so and you kind of laugh, but then when you look at the reality they're talking about, it's kind of a cynical way, but that's our politics, and that a lot of people will. The politics is such that people will go on what they feel.
Speaking of politics, I just wanted to get your opinion. I've been busy and back. I'm not certain if you spoke to this, but this agreement that is now, Trump says it's over. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he also said that they're still negotiating.
No, he said it don't make sense to negotiate. He's through negotiating. He's tired of it.
Yeah, but I know. And then what's actually happening? I don't know. It's a tough one. We already see the impact that if they decide they being Iran close down the Strait of Hormuz, people just kind of felt a little bit confident that the economy was going to be able to get back. But my understanding is that they fired on 3 ships that went over around Omar to avoid having to go where they can monitor it. And so when they did that, then America did their retaliatory strikes. I don't know. I was listening to Trump on the way in, and he was talking about bombing bridges and desalination plants where they take the salt out of the water for people to drink. I don't know if he knows that that's a war crime.
He don't care.
Yeah, that's a war crime. It's a war crime. Yeah, so I'm hoping that it will pass in terms of
because they just was saying that the gas has started to go down, and the whole 50 cents cheaper than it was,
except in the neighborhood.
What except in your neighborhood?
Yeah, it's still $3.99 over here, but it's $3.40 something on the south side.
Well, probably depends on the gas station too, because you have some of these that are not.
That's $3.99.
Yeah, they're not like the, what is it? I'm not Amoco anymore, but if it's like some of those, and then you have the little small ones like the one over by me on that would be like 70th and Center.
That I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
that.
And I'm sure it's really cheap out of Costco too, right?
I think so.
Of course, you do a half a tank to go out there to fill up your tank.
I know, because I had to go away on the south side to
I got to shout out
E85.
Got to shout out the gas depot on 27th and Burleigh. Did y'all see that yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
He gave away free gas.
Oh, 27?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he gave away free gas.
Now, I try not to act like I'm scared. That's one of the places I do not stop to get gas.
No.
Not because I'm worried about getting robbed. It's just
first to water down.
No. I use his gas. He's got good gas.
Yeah.
The gas, he was giving away $10 for the first 100 cars.
Right. Gas stations don't make money off of gas.
Hold on. You giving away $10 worth of gas?
Man, it ain't like
$9 a gallon.
It's not $9.
I bet you there was a line.
I bet it was.
The police had to direct traffic. It was
I
so
bet
many
you
people.
there was a
It
line.
was the same car going in circles.
No.
I remember when we gave the $25 gas card.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
glad to get it.
People-
And the interesting part is because you didn't get out and pump your own gas, they had some of the MPD pumping the gas for the people.
Really?
Wow.
So, is it? Do they still give away over here on Atkinson? The BB?
She didn't did that. He.
Oh, he.
No, it's he now, right?
Yeah, he hasn't done that in a while.
Yeah.
I think it was last year he did it.
I didn't know what. I never knew what that was about. I used to go up Keith,
Uh-huh.
and the cars be from was that 8th and Keith going around that corner, and I never knew that's what they was lining up for.
Now, do they they still do food in there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Keon swore by the food in there.
food was pretty good. We've gone there once, but I mean it takes too long to get your food for me. So we only own lunch. So
I know,
we
man.
do have to come back and do some work.
I know, man.
Hey, Keith.
Yep.
Somebody talk about you. Look what they said. Hold on, I got to find it right here. Read that.
Neck bone connected to the thigh bone, and the hip bone connected to the knee bone.
And you know what runs along all those bones? Your sciatic nerve.
Right. No, but you know what? It's crazy because what I found out, I believe in that is true, man. That your neck bone is connected to all
Yes.
this other stuff. Because once you hurt one muscle, it seems like every muscle in your body is hurt. It seems like everything is like connected
Because of the nerves.
because of the nerves.
Because of the nerves.
George is commenting there, Keith. You just saying the bottom here started again.
I didn't even see what the stock market
See it
is.
in the stock market. And thanks a lot, Zebra. Zebra says, always good to hear about a great deal after the fact.
You got a phone call too.
Actually,
Somebody said it sounded like a radio cage match.
whoa. Oh, the Dow Jones dropped by 800 points.
Well, don't worry because at the end of the week, Friday before everything closed,
It'll be
Trump
back
is
up.
going to make an announcement and say, man, that the Strait of Hormuz is open and ready for service, and then everything going to jump up, and then it's going to go into the weekend like he always do. He makes some type of announcement to cause the Dow Jones to shift and go up, knowing that it's going to be closed over the weekend.
Right. You know, and Debo used to remind me of this, man, during 2020, I never had any shortage of information or subjects to talk about because this dude was what we call him the gift that kept on giving.
Yep, the gift that keeps on.
I want him to stop giving.
Please.
Yeah, you know, it's like when a kid that starts off as cute,
Yeah.
it ain't cute anymore.
Then after
Yeah.
a while, it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
dude, I'm getting tired
It's
of this.
never been cute with this guy, though, man.
Yeah.
I was so, and just think back how depressed I was when he won.
Everybody was.
I mean, it was just like, oh, here we go again.
Here we go. And I don't think a lot of people even realize the impact. Now, thank God, in the first administration there were guardrails there. There were people around him who were serious. This time around, sycophants.
Well, that's because I believe in that they really cheated this time around because he said that the election was rigged in 2020.
let's not even put
but this
that in.
is the same. But I'm saying, this is the same procedure in 2020 that
Let me ask
happened
a
in
question.
24.
You know, and I did logic twice in college, so I think I can ask this question and hopefully get a logical answer. Every Republican that won. You were the only one that didn't.
And it was
And
rigged.
so they
It
cheated.
was. I mean, we talking there was. You hear any Republicans who even lost who said the election was rigged?
Uh-oh. See that message there?
Stop being a coward. Oh, okay. Well, I got to call her.
No, not you.
Come on, man. Call her. Welcome to the program. He never get through the program.
You're right.
Call her. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
I'm good.
I wanted to comment on you talking about this sciatic nerve pain that you have.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you, I had it so bad that
Turn your radio down there.
Yes, sir. That I'm barely walking.
Yep.
I mean, it's getting so excruciating with me. I'm like dragging my legs.
That was a big word there, Angela.
Excruciating.
You in pain. You'd be surprised with your how expansive your vocabulary will
I have an extended vocabulary regardless if I be in pain or not, you know. But so anyways, it's just like I'm dragging my legs. I can barely walk some days. I can't. Man, it's just bad.
Are you doing any kind of assistance, a cane or a walker?
I have a cane, and I don't have a walker because my wheel broke off, so, you know, they won't give me one till next year. So, but then I got my electrical scooter thing, but I can't get it off my steps because I don't have a ramp yet.
Okay.
Jermaine will come by there and get it. Ain't that the one you was going to come and pick him up in for Juneteenth Day?
Yes, it was.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I think what happened with me, though, was you walk to avoid the pain. That's why I was using the walker, because the walker then balanced out my walking. I know it sounds, because with a cane, you're going to do da-da-da-da-da, but with that walker, I was straight up. And then the therapist showed me with the walker, you see a lot of people bending over. Yeah. You need one where it's supposed to be where your arms were straight up, so then you're not bending over.
Right.
So if I'm doing like any kind of if I do a lot of long distance walking, I'm still going to kind of use the walker because the pain is going to kick in at some point. So,
but I'm gonna tell you, mine's done got so. Are
you doing physical therapy?
It doesn't. No, I do not.
Yeah, because that helps.
Mine's got so intense. I can't sit or stand for a long period of time, or I barely get any sleep.
Right.
That's how bad this pain is, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet.
And what I'm trying to avoid is taking like real pharmaceutical, like painkillers. So right now I'm just basically using Aleve and Tylenol.
I'm telling you, if you don't get nothing stronger than what's given to me, ain't gonna do you no good, because man, it's just like.
I took one of Rhonda's, man, and woo,
I'm done.
I'm so high. No,
but Debo, is he in there with y'all? I know you hear me. You need to be getting on the phone and calling me when I've been calling you. So make that happen, and you know why I'm calling you. Don't make me blast you on air.
All right. Appreciate you, Angela. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Keith.
Take care. You get better. All right. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Keith, let me just put this on. I want to have an Al moment, if you don't mind. We'll need to stop being such a coward and let callers call in, because he puts that mess out there on the airwaves, but there's nobody to call in and challenge him. Because there's been plenty of times I would like to debate him on some of that stuff he puts out there, but he won't let callers call in. And when I ask him about that one day, he's going to tell me I can help pay for his program. So, you know, he could be a history major, whatever he wants to do. But if you spilling stuff out there that you know is not true, I don't know if you listen to his show, Keith. I don't listen to him like I listen to you and Michelle. But the few times that I have listened to him, I've never agreed with anything he's
well, I'm thinking about implementing the same policy.
Well, you gonna let your brother call in, right?
What'd you say?
So that's all I want to.
Well, you know what? I said this, and I don't remember. I know you do. When Meech had his program.
Oh yeah.
And look, you need to get the idea out. But I can tell you, man, that people would call in and, woo, man, I mean, it went to a different level. So I think that part of it, he wants to get the message out.
He's only got an hour, so it's
right. You know, and people, and he knows.
Don't make no excuses for him, Debo.
No, but then when you factor in scheduled breaks and stuff like that,
right.
You know, it really eats up your time. So you've only got a limited amount of time, especially with him. He always has a guest. So he's trying to let them get their messaging
And
out.
that'd be even worse because they be coming on there with that old crazy nonsense too. And
But if
like
you know that is nonsense, why you tripping?
There you go again, Keith. So, Keith,
No, I'm just saying that if you know,
I don't understand
and I'm assuming, George.
Keith, I never understand you. They put that nonsense out there, and people can't come back.
But there are people who think that what you and I are saying are nonsense.
Well, but Keith, what I'm saying is that Keith, you let people come, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, you still get feedback.
Right.
When you put stuff out there and nobody can dispute it, that's why we're in this situation.
Okay, but then what happens?
Right,
can we take it to its logical conclusion? So you dispute it, and then what?
Yeah, somebody might listen.
They're listening.
They might say, "Oh, okay." Well, who's listening? Not if it's they listening to him, but they're not listening to anybody combat him. So they're like, "Oh man, that was a good point. What you got to say about that, Will?" So
I watch Fox. I hear stuff coming out on Fox. I can't say anything. I mean,
that's on CNN too. We ain't talking about. We talking about.
But what I'm saying is that
we talking about WNOV right now, and so I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right.
Because I know what y'all gonna take up for that clown.
No, and first of all, hold on, George. He's not a clown. Let me say this about Will. You might disagree with him, but Will. No. Will is one. If you knew him, you know Will is like one of the real good dudes. Now, politically,
good dudes don't harm their community.
It's not a harm just because you have an alternative. You have an alternative view.
Chief, you think that the Republican Party is good for our?
Whether I think the Republican Party is good or not because of free speech. Free speech, just like you have the opportunity, others have the opportunity too. So we don't shut it down because we disagree with it.
Say shut it down. You didn't hear me say shut it down.
No, but you are shutting it down when you can't make the point because you constantly argue with people about the point.
Y'all said Misha would take a different direction. And Lee's speech will let you call it. Now, Misha would try and overtalk you and tell you to hang up on him. But
then how productive was that? How productive was that in terms of dialogue?
Is it any different than what me and you doing right now?
I think you and I can have dialogue. But what I'm saying is that, it's more than me. It's more than you in this world. And we have people with diverse views based on their experiences. And whether I agree with them or not, they have the right to express it as long as they're not.
I said they didn't. Keith.
Okay, but then
My whole opinion, what it must be going over your head, is that I wish that he would let callers call in and combat some of that nonsense he's been there. Whether you consider him a good
all right, man, I gotta go.
Anybody that hurts the community is not a good guy to me.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how much he's hurting the community, but okay, that's it. Let me thank Mr. Carl Brown. Clark Kent, thank you.
Who you with?
Hey, man, try and be with the people. Mr. Jermaine Rideout, Apostle.
Bishop.
Appreciate you. Debo, as always, appreciate you, man. Hey, y'all, good Lord willing, quick don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.